Everything's like a dream in Kansas City. It's better than a magic record show. You can turn the radiator on whenever you want to meet. With every condo comfort, every house is all complete. You can walk to privies in the rain and never wet your feet. They've gone about as far as they can go. Yes, sir! They've gone about as far as they can go.
Well, we're doing the American music classic Oklahoma that has so many memorable songs in it from Rodgers and Hammerstein, and it's, I think, a show that's important for the kids to know, since they're so attuned with the current music theater that's around, the cutting edge stuff and everything. I think it's important for them to also be well versed in the classics. So it's Oklahoma.
What you doing, Will? Two-step. All her dancing nowadays are waltzes through. Let's talk to it. A one and a two, a one and a two. Of course they can't do it alone. Come on, Anna.
And that's about as far as I can go.
Yes, sir. That's about as far as she can go.
Well, I think one of the groundbreaking elements of it was that it was finally one of the musicals that when you broke into a song, the song was what catapulted you through the plot and storyline. So it was really the first time, instead of just breaking out into song and dance for no particular reason, this finally had a purpose through the plot and story. And that was kind of unheard of at that time. There was, I think, a couple of other musicals that may have attempted it, but this one was the one that was most recognizable with that intent in mind. Also, it was groundbreaking in the fact that Agnes DeMille had an interpretation, and it was the first time that we saw dance also tell the story and evolve the plot line. So it was, again, another catalyst that helped tell the story. And usually when you just did a dance in that time period, it was just a dance for dance sake. And this was a dance through storytelling. And that was really kind of groundbreaking in itself. It has a bunch of intertwined plots in it, but the general storyline is that there's a group of people that must have lived in the East and wanted to settle to the West, and it was a place called an Indian Territory. And within this Indian Territory, they started farming and they started there was ranchers that did cattle. And so they were really the ones that forged, I guess, hard labor for the first time, you know, and it was, again, something that they wanted to better themselves. So they moved west, as everybody knows the story about moving west and prospering. And it takes place basically in a day, and then 3 weeks pass by, but it takes place in a day, and within this day, it's about a love story, the time of innocence. Boy gets girl. Farmers that, you know, are having disagreements with ranchers, finding out what your territory is, what your job is, and trying to get along with your neighbor. And then, of course, boy gets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. The story is told through the eyes of probably like 4 main characters.
Well, I play Curly McLean, and he is a cowboy on the territory. And he is in love with Lori, but is a little too shy to say it. His love kind of manifests itself in playful jabs, kind of like pulling the pigtails on the playground sort of thing.
I play Lori Williams. She's in love with Curly, but she's a little too shy to say it. And we both have this whole cat and mouse situation until we finally both admit our love to each other.
Our students are from the North Carolina Theater Conservatory, although we do have a few new ones, which we always love and introduce them into our community with open arms. They're very, very talented. Most of them I've been teaching since they were, little, about 4 or 5 years old. And they really have evolved to become not just great performers, but great people. What I like to say to my cast on the very first day, when we're all getting to know each other, is I want them to be reminded that this is their show, and what they do with it is what makes it their show. So they all have to make certain choices, and they all have to have a point of decision, and they all have to have an objective. And so within that is how we create our own personal show. Of course, you can't deviate from the elements of all the classic stuff that has to go on as far as changing lyrics or changing dance segments with something like that. We want to stay true to the traditional stuff, but I like to see our actors have a different take on the characters, and it's still poignant and it's still very clear to me what their intent is. So it's kind of cool to see that happen.
There's a lot of pressure to get it right, because we want to make sure that we keep it fresh and updated for the new audience, but we also want to make sure we maintain the integrity of the original piece that was so important.
It's also intimidating vocally to make sure that you're keeping the music alive the way it's supposed to be and not changing it in a certain way and making sure you're sticking to that classic Oklahoma sound.
We had the fortune of having Christine Hennigan, who is a local director, come in and work with us about like the history of the show, so that we don't have to just take the words, but we can take the context of when the show was written, when it takes place, and use that to make our characters different than just what's on the paper. So that was deciding what goes on off stage more than what goes on stage.
For me personally, I struggled finding the strength in Lori, but I'm trying to show that because I think that is important to show.
The Conservatory is absolutely great. I've been here for 10 years. How long have you been here?
10 years as well.
Yeah, it's just been such a wonderful experience. Ray Walker, the artistic director, and Tito Hernandez, the director of dance, have really been like almost parents to us over these past years. And the way that they teach, it's not just about what goes on stage, it's about the respect that you have backstage, how you talk to the stage manager, how you create the character, how you show up to rehearsal even. And the way that they teach us and the way that we're able to implement that, what we learn through being able to do main stage and stats, is just wonderful.
I started as a 7-year-old knowing literally nothing about theater and no natural talent, nothing. And I'm here playing a lead role in our summer theater art school, which is awesome. And I owe everything to Ray and Tito for that. They really provide you with the tools to get higher up in the business and to pursue it professionally.
We actually have been in a lot of shows together. We were in Oliver,
Yes.
and Grease, and Spamalot together.
Yep.
All 3 shows were just spectacular experiences. You've been in a few more.
I started in A Christmas Story, then Evita, and did Oliver with him, Les Mis. I think that's it. They're just dreams to work here at the North Carolina Theater professionally. Like, they treat us like we are the professionals coming in. It's great that we have these opportunities to audition for these shows.
It's a really good chance to work with professionals who are working in New York and learn what it's like to work on a show where you don't know anybody and how to navigate, even just socially, just with the directors and how you talk to people you don't talk to every day, like with Ray and Tito.
Right, exactly.
Come see the show, and if you ever get a chance to stage or do Oklahoma, I would highly recommend it to broaden your horizons and pay homage to a tradition, American traditional music show.
Come see Oklahoma.
Yeah, come see Oklahoma.
It's going to be a great show. We're really proud of it.
Yeah.
And come take classes at the Conservatory in the fall, because we are not joking when we say it is invaluable training.
Yes.